This video is sponsored by Surfshark, the best VPN on the market. Surfshark is an app or browser extension that allows you to change your location to access websites in other countries and keep you safe from hackers. For example, we here in Ireland can access other countries' Netflix libraries, streaming services such as The Zone in Spain for those all-important Premier League games. Surfshark keeps you safe and private by protecting everything you do online. When your device connects to the internet, all that information is, in a way, blurred out. Surfshark is particularly useful for keeping you safe if you use public Wi-Fi, such as a college or a cafe. Surfshark allows you to use one subscription on unlimited devices, meaning that you can even share an account with friends and family. On top of this, Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you don't like it, you can even get your money back. Our sign-up offer gives you Surfshark VPN for just over €2 per month and up to 4 months free. Why not scan the QR code on screen or use the link in the description to take advantage of this offer. What is up, my friends? How are we? It is a brand new week here on Anfield Agenda, and you are very welcome along to Monday night's late night agenda. Tonight we're going to be trying to figure out what on earth is happening at the club. We're going to be giving you some words from Jamie Carragher about quite how open and easy the Reds are to play through. We'll talk about the fact that it doesn't look like there's any January signings coming through the door. We'll discuss the Harvey Elliott situation, how the Andy Robertson situation, might not be quite over yet. We'll talk about James McConnell. We'll talk about lots more, and of course we'll discuss the Liverpool managerial situation. As always, my friends, do want to know your thoughts, so get your comments coming in. We have a poll question to kick us off tonight, which I thought is a fairly straightforward one, really. Did you expect the Reds to make a signing this January? Because coming into the window, I honestly didn't know what to expect. I know what I thought we needed. I know what I still think we need, which is, of course, a centre-back minimum. But I didn't know whether to expect one or not. Once I seen the Mark A situation develop, I'm not going to lie, I fully did expect us to come to the table there, but we didn't. So with, a week to go, if even, in the window, it's looking very, very unlikely that the Reds are going to strengthen. We're also going to talk tonight about the points tally that the Reds have at this point versus what we had last season. We'll discuss Adam Wharton. We'll talk about Xabi Alonso and lots more as well. But as always, it is your show, so you're in control. Let me know what topics you'd like to discuss. Right, I want to start off with a few statistics around Jamie Carragher. So defeats following second half equalisers this season. Liverpool have 4. So Liverpool have conceded 4 goals that's led to defeats following second half equalisers this season, more than any other team. The next highest team in the Premier League has 2. Liverpool double that with 4. Premier League average this season is just a bit less than 1, and Liverpool's last 7 seasons average 1. So we're conceding way more at latter points of games than we have done in previous campaigns, especially after coming back and getting an equaliser. Now we'll talk about Jamie Carragher, who did a very good piece on Monday Night Football, if you had a chance to see it, kind of dissecting how easy Liverpool are to counter, and I'll walk you through some of that in a moment. It really was an eye-opening thing. He was showing the Rio and Gamoa situation, and then how we cut back inside, and then the field just developed, and Liverpool basically had nobody in the middle of the park. I think Jamie Carragher said that there was 74 yards of opposition ball carrying before a Liverpool player got anywhere near making a challenge. So we'll walk you through that and why that's an even bigger problem as well. Your poll should say first team signings. Should it? I would think that that's common sense. I don't think I have to hold your hand to let you know that it should be first team signings, because do you think I don't know that we've made signings for the youth team? I think it's a fairly obvious question that, I didn't want to insult your intelligence by saying first team signings, because I would have thought it was common sense that I was talking about first team signings. But if I didn't make that clear enough, apologies. First team signings, ladies and gentlemen, first team signings. Because of course we have made some underage signings, and on that, official, Liverpool have agreed a deal in principle to sign Ifeani Ndweke from Austria Vienna, subject to international clearance. So that one should be coming along nicely soon. That's the young man that the gentleman from Vienna that was in the chat last week told us how good he was and how a big part of Austria's under-17 World Cup performance he was. Right, Youngsters don't count. Exactly. I'm talking about the here and now type players. Look, I'm always open and happy for the Reds to bring in young talent, but, we need the here and now players. We're quite stocked and quite well stocked for the future. But you won't believe this. I swear I thought this was a wind-up when I read it. But our defensive situation has somehow managed to get a little bit worse. You might think I'm trying to wind you up, but I'm not. It has gotten worse. Because Welledy Lucky, well, he's now ruled out as well. So this from James Pearce and Credit Anfield Sector for the Post. Liverpool's defensive resources have been further depleted after Welledy Lucky was ruled out for at least 2 months with a hamstring injury. Joe Gomez came off injured but is not expected to be serious, but the length of his absence remains unknown. Despite that lack of depth, it remains unlikely that Liverpool will enter the market for senior defensive help this month. Not only that, it's gotten a little bit worse and it's gone in the other direction. It seems as if the Andy Robertson situation, well, that's still on the table. Despite last night us being told that, Liverpool are pulling the plug on this one. Nope, apparently it might still happen. Fabrizio Romano on YouTube saying Andy Robertson to Spurs is still one to watch as the deal is not considered completely off. A domino effect could occur as Roma are interested in a new left-back from Wolves, which would allow Kostas to return to Liverpool and then Robbo to go to Spurs. It really just feels like these clowns haven't learned their lesson and still plan on trying to shaft us by removing Andy Robertson mid-season. We discussed this last night and we finally thought common sense had prevailed when the Post started to come out saying that Liverpool had pulled the plug on it. But then we found out that that plug was being pulled not because Liverpool had realised how stupid the decision was, but because they thought they couldn't get Kostas back from Roma. So not only have we not added to our first team squad in this window, ladies and gentlemen, our club are actively going about weakening the first team. And make no mistake, that's what getting rid of Andy Robertson is. It's weakening the first team. And apparently, that's what we're looking at. The Honest Tiger, how are you, bro? Said, hi, Craig. As a United fan, I'm happy with the last 2 results. Do you think we're in the running from top 4? Keep up the good work that you do. I'd have to say you're in the running, mate. Yes. I mean, how could I not? For me to say you're not in the running would have to be me saying Liverpool aren't in the running. Because you're ahead of us. As mad as that feels for me to say as a Liverpool fan right now, you occupy a Champions League place and my club doesn't. That is... genuinely, I don't mean to be mocking your club here, but that to me sounds astounding after the start of the season. United were all over the shop. And Liverpool, we'd started and won the first 5 games. Knew that we weren't great, but now we're 6th. Fucking 6th. And we're still supposed to believe that everything is okay. So no, yes, you absolutely have every right to talk about yourselves and think about yourselves with regards to Champions League football. I'm actually starting to worry, is it as open and shut for us as I would have believed? Even last week, sitting here, I didn't think we were in any danger of not getting Champions League football. Honestly, now I'm not so sure. You look at the fixtures we've got coming up as well. We've got Newcastle coming to Anfield on Saturday for an 8 p.m. kickoff. That's going to be a tough one. And then we've got Manchester City. That's going to be a tough one. So there's more points likely going to be dropped. And yet we still don't think we need to add any depth. I didn't think I'd be saying this at this point of the season, but I'm already questioning the appetite for success, which feels really unfair after the summer that we had and the transfer window that we had. But they don't seem willing or capable of stopping the rot this season and fixing things. And again, there seems to be this blind belief that somehow we'll find our way, even though all the signs, all the statistics, the analysis from former players is pointing to a shit show. What's it going to take for Hughes, Edwards or FSG to pull the plug and finally realise that this season's getting away from us quickly and could get further away from us? I'm going to ask the next poll question around the Champions League to ask how you feel about it. But yeah, it's maddening. And I'm having to take time before every stream now to calm myself down before I come on, because I don't want to say anything that's going to get me in even more trouble. But right now, I'm feeling pretty angry as a Liverpool fan that they don't give a fuck that things are falling apart. The club is going down the toilet. said Eddie Cox Wilkins. I mean, like I keep saying, imagine having this conversation in August, saying to you that we'd be sitting here in January absolutely gobsmacked with where we are. Look, I don't know at this point. I really just don't know how there is anybody or any thought process that points towards Arne doing a decent enough job to keep him on board. What is it going to take? You know, because will we win the Champions League? Again, it's possible, but let's be honest, probably not. The FA Cup, yay, but not enough to save Arne for me if we win that. It'll be decent, but it's not one of the two big ones. And do we even fucking qualify for next season's Champions League? Well, with Arne at the helm at the minute, the form isn't certainly saying yes, is it? And to give you just a balance of this time last year versus now, credit anything Liverpool for this post, after the same amount of games, 23, in last season's Premier League season, Liverpool had 56 points. So 56 points from 23 Premier League games played. This season, from 23 Premier League games played, 36. 36 points. 20 points worse off. Almost 7 defeats worse off, points-wise, than we were last year at the same time. And yet I'm still supposed to believe that this manager is the guy to turn it around. I don't know. I don't know, lads. You got to question the leadership at this point. Because there's only so much we can place on the shoulders of Arne Slot. And his failures are laid out for everyone to see. But we do have to start questioning what's going on above his head at this point. Because, you know, I have a real problem with transparency. And in football, it's a sport that isn't very transparent at the best of times. But when you're at a club where two people don't even have to front up, that makes it difficult. Like, we've got Hughes and Edwards, and we never see them. We never hear from them. They're making the decisions. They don't explain the decisions. They don't explain the thought process behind not going after Mark A. It's just... Do you ever get a feeling that sometimes people are just pushing you just to see how far they can get away with it? How far they can get away before people turn? And I actually thought yesterday when the Robertson stuff started to break, finally, they're listening. They've seen the backlash from fans and they've put this ridiculous idea of moving Andy Robertson midway through the season aside. Except they didn't. And that's unfathomable to me. Chris Thorne, how are you, mate? And thank you. I think FSG are on purpose writing the season off, not buying Gay, almost sold Robbo for a few quid, not firing Slotsins cheaper during the summer. It's all about money, said Anders Nielsen. Well, the Robbo thing doesn't look like it's off the table yet. Astonishingly, it looks like Andy Robertson could still leave. And this is the height of idiocy. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Your season's down the toilet. Your defence is riddled with injuries. You're devoid of leadership. And the smart thing for our club to do is to move on the vice-captain for 3 million quid. Are we that hard up? Like, do we need to start a GoFundMe? Is that what Hughes and Edwards are saying to us? We're that fucking hard up for 3 million quid. Do we need a whip round for the club? Like, something doesn't add up. How do you go from spending 450 million, yes, you recoup money, but still, outlay, quite high, to getting rid of your vice-captain to save a bit of wages and 3 million quid? Because nobody's going to convince me it's strengthening the team, bringing Kostas back over Robbo. And I don't know any Liverpool fan that thinks that way. It's madness. Neville, well, usually I despise everything that Gary Neville has to say. He said something, I think, on his Gary Neville podcast, and he ain't wrong. He said they lost out on Mark A. They did not do that piece of business that they should have done. So maybe that softness will continue. I won't say they're a whingy bunch on the pitch, but there's a bit of an element of looking at them that feels like they've been hard done to a little bit. That they've got to get rid of that attitude if that's what's developing inside. Now, I mentioned this to you guys after the Bournemouth goal that won the game for them. That our players, Virgil, were running to the referee, moaning, whinging, looking to be bailed out. They weren't looking at each other. They weren't trying to figure out whose man it was. They weren't trying to figure out how the ball went in the net. They looked for someone to bail them out. And that is exactly what Neville's getting onto. We are too soft. We are too nice. We aren't aggressive enough. And for me, ladies and gents, that's because of the leadership. The leadership is too passive. The manager's too passive. The captain's too passive. There is no aggression. Jamie Carragher's piece on Monday Night Football, I will urge every single one of you to go and watch. Because it shows a player carrying the ball 74 yards, two players, between them, carrying the ball 74 yards before Liverpool got near a challenge. It was like we had the team split in half. Half the team was attacking in the opposition box. Half the team was back near our box. And there was nobody in the middle of the pitch. Nobody for 30 yards. And Carragher seen that. So you know Arna's seen it. So it has to be intentional. This style of play that's supposed to be more defensively rigid is just wide open. Let me read out to you what he said, because it's quite telling. It's going to take me a minute, so please bear with me. He said, if I think of the three big things that stand out in the Premier League now that you come up against, it's set pieces and long throws, it's counter-attacking football, and if you're a top team like Liverpool, coming up against low blocks, they can't cope with anything. What we're seeing is a team not suited to the Premier League. Let me read that last line back. Jamie Carragher knows the league inside out. Played for us, talks about football every week, watches the Premier League all the time. Said what we are seeing is a team not suited to the Premier League. About the defending champions. And he ain't wrong. Liverpool, I think, as a club, can accept and almost take collective responsibility that we're not going to win the league this year and we're not going to challenge. Not good enough, but we accept it. But once you start seeing what Man United have done in the last couple of weeks, once you start seeing Chelsea, once you start seeing where Liverpool could actually finish outside the Champions League positions, because I really fear for them, like I said, this team is not equipped for the Premier League. Again, this coming from Carragher. Once you start fearing Champions League qualification for next season, that's when I think you've got a completely different proposition than we're talking about the manager's job. Not making the Champions League from champions after spending 450 million and having the highest wage bill, I think they've got serious questions. Is it Champions League or bust for Arne Slot? Yeah. Let me just alter the last bit. No, Jamie, it can't be. Because if it's Champions League for bust, that means we're still sticking with this coach. Now, Jamie's already pointed out all the flaws in the team. The fact we're not suited to our own domestic league. Talks about the fact that we're soft. So the answer is, no, let's wait and see till the damage is done. The answer is, how can we save the season? Because that's what we're interested in as fans, right? Not how can we save the money generation moving forward. How can we try to really salvage something from this season? And is keeping Arne the best way to do that? I don't think it is. And I don't think anybody can really make the argument at this point that it's the best thing to do to save the season. Because if we go out of the Champions League and he doesn't qualify, it's game over. Up to 100 million down the Swanee. No Champions League money. What does that mean for us fans? Well, you know what that means. It means less signings. It means wage bills being cut. It means some decisions that aren't going to be ones that we like. And it's avoidable if they act. The weak thing to do is not to act. The brave thing, which these guys are supposed to be in their positions for, is to look at the situation and stop the rot. Stop it before it gets out of control. Before the season isn't salvageable. It shouldn't be a hard issue. He spelled out the case there where the manager should be fired. Say Champions League or bust. So you're willing to roll the dice on 100 million quid just in case Slot can figure a miracle out to win the Champions League. Sack him. Put somebody in immediately to try and get us back up that league table. Because we can't bank on the future of this club by winning the Champions League this year. Because he's already admitted he's worried for the Premier League. He's worried for our qualification. And he's not on his own. I share that worry with him. So, is it really worth that? For risk-averse people who look at the data, you're really telling me that the smart business decision here is to keep with the manager that's failing and the likelihood of that Champions League money becoming less and less each week. Sticking with that man is the smart play. I don't get it. The smart play is surely to stop the rot and build from there. The irony of having to use Manchester United as an example in this situation isn't lost on me. But look what Carragher has done. He's at least stopped the rot. And I'm not saying that Manchester United are going to continue on the vein they are. They've had 2 incredible results. But just even at that, you see how quickly the fan base has turned? How quickly Manchester United fans feel that sense of optimism and hope again? And all that took was somebody to walk into the dressing room that understands what's expected at that club and portray that to the players. Our manager's incapable of it. He's incapable. It's not a debate. He cannot manage. He cannot motivate players. He has allowed, as Jamie said, from the summer to now, the whole team the will to just disappear. Craig, I fear we won't be in Europe at all, said Adamus. It's almost like they want to wait for the worst to happen before they act. Do you know when you're watching a horror movie and you know what's happening? You know someone's about to get murdered in this movie, but the character in the movie doesn't know it. And you're all screaming at it, no, don't open that door! Feels like that's where we're at. We're watching a horror movie, but yet we're the characters in the movie. We don't know whether we're going to be killed or not. They have the choice. They have the option now to get rid of this man. Don't give us the Liverpool way bollocks. Because then again, we won't be in Europe next year. Because we did what? We did the Liverpool way? We were the nice guys that didn't sack the failing manager? I mean, fuck me. It shouldn't. It's open and shut thinking. Framet said, funny analogy, that's exactly how all of us feel. Exactly. It's like looking at something that you can see unfolding, but you can't do anything about it. You feel helpless, and that is so fucking frustrating as a football fan. You see it. We're all seeing it. It's clear. So if we can see it, and we're all just normal people, the brain trust can surely see it. Joseph said, I can't stand Slott's nonchalant attitude and excuses. I've banged on for a long time about the example being set by leadership seeping onto the pitch. And I don't know how to say this without it sounding like a dig at our captain, whom I love dearly. But you can't have that much of a laid-back attitude right across the spectrum. You can't have a laid-back captain. You can't have a laid-back coach. And then expect a physically aggressive team. Arne Slot, by the looks of it, couldn't. I mean, I wouldn't want them sending me out to battle. I wouldn't want my life depending on his speeches. For the love of God, you can't get a tune out of them. And also, you'd have to question the respect/fear scenario in the dressing room as well. Because it doesn't look like he has either of those. FSG, Edwards, Hughes and Slot are the problem. Chris, I don't know if I said thank you, mate, but I'm going to say thank you again for 11 months with us as a member. And you are right, Mike. Like, obviously Arne comes in for a lot of the criticism because results are down to the coach. But you aren't wrong, and anybody that says to me, Craig, it's not all on Slot, you're not wrong. I'm not trying to say it is. I'm with you. But the only thing I feel can be done in the short term, now, if they actually are serious about saving it, is removing the head coach. The rest can be figured out down the line. But you got to do something. Because all the time when there's a big decision to be made with our club, it seems to be, well, let's roll the dice. Let's hold our nerve. Please don't. Because there's no nerve to be held anymore. All of our nerves are gone. As fans. Like I said, nobody was surprised that we conceded that goal. We asked the question in the chat the other night. Nobody was surprised. Annoyed, yes, but surprised, no. Hope you're well. Should we prioritise Champions League or Premier League? Said Mark Bell. I don't think you can do either. And what I mean by that, Mark, is, so let's say you prioritise the Champions League to win it. Well, then you're really going all in. And what happens if you don't? Which is more probable than probable. You know, more probable that we don't win it than we do. So I don't think it's possible for a club to really prioritise the Champions League. Because it is not like a league, where in the Premier League you can say, right, over 38 games it might balance itself out. Your consistency will show. In the Champions League, one stupid red card, one penalty decision, like one moment can change the trajectory. So it isn't possible, in my opinion, to just prioritise that competition. And if you do that, and what if you are, like, let's say you even make it to the final and you lose the final, but you've let the league go. Well, you're not in it next year. So the Champions League money's out the window. Your availability to, or your ability to attract top players is going out the window. And the people who are making the decisions look like absolute gobshites that in one season they've taken a team from winning the Premier League, spent a load of dough on it, and then fucked themselves out of the Premier League or out of the Champions League places. So no, I don't think, Mark, it's possible to prioritise one or the other. Because now, let's be honest, if we're prioritising the Premier League now, all we're prioritising is trying to get back into the Champions League. And if Liverpool are prioritising getting back into the Champions League, well, what's our point in being in it unless we want to win it? And we should be prioritising the league anyway. That's our bread and butter. And I'm not trying to say he hasn't been prioritising it, but we're sixth. That's where we're at, like. So this from Graham Bailey, and I believe on Team Talk, but from Graham Bailey anyway. Liverpool have informed Andy Robertson that a move to Spurs remains an option for the final week of the window. Team Talk has learned, but the deal hinges on Roma successfully resourcing a replacement for Kostas. Yet again, anyone out there able to tell me how this benefits Liverpool in the now? Genuinely, anyone. How does moving Andy Robertson on and bringing Kostas back make us better? How does weakening the team for 3 million quid make us better? It doesn't make any fucking sense. Andy Robertson absolutely has the right to dictate his own destiny, but it has to work for the club. So if Spurs really want Andy Robertson, I'm sure they still really want him in the summer. And I'm sure that he can sign a pre-contract or an agreement with them or whatever and go there in the summer, or just give them his word. But how does it help us? It doesn't. We moved Kostas on for a reason. Because the manager thought that he wasn't good enough. So I'm not going to be convinced for one fucking second that him moving back is a good thing. Yes, we know that Carragher is the manager's guy. That's no problem. But ask any Liverpool fan who they'd rather have as the backup if something happened to Carragher for the rest of the season. And I'd say most of us would say Andy Robertson. And that's before we get into the fact that he's our vice captain. It's just stupid. You think Hughes and Edwards are willing to throw top four? No, I don't. But it's so difficult, right? Because do I think they're willing to throw it? Well, I can't sit here and say yes to that because it's the money pit. Like that's the big earner. Champions League football. You know, sponsors want it, players want it, fans want it. So the idea of them not getting that, it feels like they're just willing to bank that Arne crawls over the line this season. And again, I'm saying to you, that's a risk. As a fan, I'm not willing to make, and I don't think the club should be willing to make. It's not good enough. We're weakening ourselves at a time where we need to strengthen ourselves defensively for 3 million quid. Please, somebody explain how that's a good decision. The guy 1000 said, top Reds are saying how some forget with a picture of Slot on the title. If Rodgers won the league, he'd be still here now if that had to say. Look, top Reds can kiss my ass, quite simply. I'm fed up and I've had enough of them over the years. Top Reds can shut the fuck up because top Reds are the problem. Any fan with any ambition is labelled as a moron by this crowd who think that for some reason blindly following anything is a good way to go. Well, that ain't me. That's never going to be me. And if that doesn't make me a top Red, then so be it. But standards are what's supposed to count. Winning is what this club's supposed to be about. So these top Reds, I often wonder if they actually exist or are they just wind-up merchants online. Because like I say, the match-going fans that I know, the season ticket holders that I know, they don't want this coach in there. They're not happy with how things are. And you don't. I'm going to read you back one more thing from Eddie's article that we spoke about last night that talks about the accountability aspect of this. Bear with me. So, Eddie writes, Arne Slot won the league last season. That matters. It deserves respect. All agreed. It does not, however, grant immunity from scrutiny when everything that once functioned has stopped doing so. The team is poorly coached, poorly conditioned, and mentally brittle. Eddie ain't wrong. So, again, I don't understand this. So what do the top Reds want? Do they want to be blindly following somebody that leads them into failure? Winning the league is exactly what Eddie said. You get your respect and you get your thanks. But the Liverpool greats used to throw their league medals into a box in the middle of the floor and go, well, let's go again. I want another one. I want another medal. That's what winners' mentality is. It's not win once, party, take a few seasons off, go again. That's bullshit. We won the league, we climbed the mountain, and they're watching as we fall down the other side again. It's the height of stupidity. I don't understand it. There has to be a play at stake here that none of us are seeing. Whether that's a potential sale or not, I haven't got a clue. But something just doesn't smell right. Chris said, we're told that it's results-driven game, and yet we've dropped 12 points at home and dropped points from being in front, i.e. Leeds, and yet Slot is immune. Slot is a puppet, a yes man, nothing more, nothing less. He is a useful idiot. I'm sorry, but that's the way I see it now. He's in there, he's doing his job, and he's behaving. So he's manageable. If that's enough now, then fuck me, lads, we're in trouble. Found out today that Hughes didn't want Mark Gay, said Angel Lady, Anfield. So, on this one, right, Angie? Sorry, Angie Lady, excuse me, Angie. If Hughes didn't want them, and again, I don't know because I haven't got that information, but if Hughes didn't want them, the fuck were we doing in the summer? Why did we make a £35 million bid from? And why were we briefing up until a few days ago when he signed for City that we still wanted him in the summer on a free? So you'd have to say, where's the joined up thinking there again? There's been a couple of pieces that have suggested some disagreements between Slot and Hughes. The lads at Anfield Watch wrote a piece on it. Ben Spochak wrote a piece on it. Another couple of people have been kind of intimating of it. But in this, it's a difficult situation because the narrative is that Slot wants the here and now players and that Hughes wants the players like Rio Ingamoa given opportunities and to develop talent. I probably want a mixture of both, in all honesty. But doing nothing isn't helping either because we're not seeing the youth given chances. We're not going and strengthening them when we need to. Like, let's look at our poll. We asked, did you expect the signing this month? How depressing is this? 67% said no. They didn't expect the signing this month. Imagine feeling that way as a Liverpool fan, knowing that your defence is all over the shop. 1 sec, I'm just writing out another poll for you. So, should we keep Robbo or get Kostas back? So I've given you two options. Keep Robbo, get Kostas. There's no world to me that we weigh up this decision that was made previously, and the decision was that Kostas ain't it. And now all of a sudden he's good enough when we're even shorter in defensive depth. The guy who can't get game time at Roma is supposed to be coming back to be good enough if something happens to Xerxes for us. And it's not like Kostas has 4 years left on his Liverpool deal. He's got 1 year to go at the end of this season. And we've had the discussion so many times about the contract situations at our club and how we've seemingly allowed so many people to just run deals down and waltz away. And now we're shoving Andy Robertson out the door for 3 million quid. It's madness. Michael said, do you think they could be waiting until changes, Champions League top 8 is secured and then they're free from them? No, because honestly, it's Carragher at home. Like, respectfully to them, and the preview for that's out at 10:45 tonight, by the way, but respectfully, it's Carragher at home. I would say I could coach the team to get a result there. You could coach the team to get a result there. So, no, I don't think we're doing that, because, you know, that would just be... How many of you thought you were going to wake up today? Or, let me rephrase that. How many of you hoped when you woke up today you'd look at your phone and see the news that Salah had been relieved of his duties? Because I can be honest, it's the first thing I checked when I woke up was see me notifications to see if he'd been fired yet. Seemingly, nope, nothing. And I'd say I'm not on my own. I'd say there was many a phone looked at when they woke up. I hoped, didn't think it would happen. Yeah, see, Oliver, I'm with you. Hope being the word there, bro. I'm with you on that one. I hoped, but I didn't think it would happen. So, on that poll there, a flash poll that we've done really quickly, it's heading towards 700 votes. We asked, should you keep Robbo or get Kostas back? And again, we'll let it get to 1,000, but I want this to be a quick poll because I have another question I wanted to type out. So if you haven't voted, please do. Should we keep Robbo or get Kostas back? Which one's better for the team for the here and now? Keep Robbo or get Kostas back? I have to believe that the small few percentage that are voting get Kostas are not Liverpool fans, but either way. Yeah, check too. So many people saying that they check their phones as well. How has it been 40 minutes of the stream already, by the way, lads? That's flown by. So look, really quickly, it's over 90% of that wants Robbo back. So, next question. Should Slot be given this season? Yes or no? Now, if you're saying no, you're obviously thinking fire him. So, let me just put that actually. No, fire him. Or yes, give him the season. So, should Slot be given this season? No, fire him, or yes, give him the season? Because I want to see if people actually want him to be given the chance to see out the year, like the owners seemingly are waiting to do, like Hughes and Edwards are seemingly waiting to do. Because once we're knocked out of the Champions League, and if we don't qualify or aren't qualifying for the Champions League, then that's it. That's all she wrote. All the hard work, the mountain they climbed to get to the top, to attract the players, gone. You cannot have a team carrying the likes of Isak, Wirtz, Ekitike outside the Champions League. And outside of Europe at all, like, that will be catastrophic. The wage bill will have to be trimmed, and best of luck. It seems like, even from a business perspective, this is an idiotic decision. Adam Christmas said, if we fail to win the next game, we could end the weekend being closer to the relegation zone than first place. It's shocking, and Slot needs to go. And then we have got Manchester City after Newcastle. Newcastle were beaten 2-0 at home by Villa. They're going to be coming, and they're going to be looking for a win. And they hate our guts, we know that. So it's going to be a very physical game. You've just heard Carragher and Neville call us soft, and I don't disagree with them. So we're going to have a physical Newcastle with a point to prove, who hate our guts, coming to Anfield. And we have to be up for the fight. And then we've got Manchester City, the next league game. So as Adam has said, a couple of games away from now, and this could be all she wrote. We could be down 8th, 9th. It's fucking nuts. Kostas' transition was instant, and it was glorious and upwards. We were told this Slot team was going to dominate. Problem is, Slot's transition is downwards. Time he went. Exactly. It feels like the seasons are reversed, doesn't it? Like, last year should have been this year, and this year should have been last year. And then you would have understood it a bit more. Like, if Slot came in his first year, struggled a bit, but got us in, doing okay, and then we were having this year where we're winning the league, you'd feel way different about this. But to have gone from that all the way down to where we are and spend a load of dough, that is beyond comprehension. Remember, we are 20 points worse off than we were last year at the same time. 20. Stevie Boy said, does Dom renew his contract if Liverpool don't make Champions League? I don't know, mate, but even with all the goodwill in the world, right? You can't really be guaranteeing the wages that you should be to compete at the top level if you're not in the Champions League. So even the contract negotiation is going to be more awkward. This is where the teams like Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Barcelona kind of have it easier. They're always going to qualify for the Champions League. Always. There isn't a question about it. So the Premier League does have a bit more jeopardy. Whereas there is now, Liverpool, United, Chelsea, Brentford aren't a million miles away, and a couple of others vying for 1, possibly 2 Champions League spots. Because Villa are 10 points ahead of us. 10 points from 3rd place. And yet they still haven't pulled the trigger on removing the coach. Watching the Ev, they're woeful. If they were to win tonight, they'd be a point behind us. Oh, Jesus. That's shocking. Like, that's actually shocking. They'd be a point behind. Fuck me. Hull City have emerged, according to Ian Doyle, as strong contenders to sign Lewis Kumat for the rest of the season, should his loan spell at Birmingham City be ended early. Again, why do we have so many fucking disastrous loan spells where players aren't getting a look in? Like, think back over the years. How many players recently have we sent out on loan and had to recall them either because they've been injured or because they're not getting game time, we have to find somewhere else. Like, these are so many things, again, all adding up. On their own, it might not be enough to make you question something, but when you start to stack them on top of each other, the problem mounts and becomes bigger. Would you take a defeat in the last Champions League game as a final nail in Slot's coffin and he's finally sacked? No, because I'll never want Liverpool to lose for any other reason. So I'm never going to sit here and go, yeah, I'd accept a loss here so this happens. We shouldn't have to wait that long, AJ. It should just be, he ain't good enough, get him gone. Now, these things do have to be done respectfully, and Arnold deserves the respect. So I'd certainly rather he was sat down and told about it before it's on Sky Sports News or anywhere. But ultimately, he shouldn't be in his job. He knows it. Again, just look at the last couple of weeks. We've pointed out a few things to you. You've heard him banging on about low blocks. Non-stop. Yeah, against Forest, we brought you the quote yesterday from last season where he said he loves playing low blocks. He much prefers playing teams to play with a low block because you dominate the football. Yet when you can't break down that low block, all of a sudden it's unfair that teams are sitting with a low block. Why don't they open up and play against us? Thank God we were going to be playing Bournemouth who wouldn't sit back with a low block. How did that get on, Arna? You know, the team that you wanted us to play, the one that comes out and has a go? How was your non-low block team there? Oh, that's right, we lost. Again. The manager's full of it. 1 minute, he's saying, no, this isn't 2 league titles in 30 years. This is 2 league titles in 5 years. When he's on the pitch with the trophy last season. Now when things aren't going his way, we have to remember, I have been successful at Liverpool. This is a club that's won 2 league titles in 30 years. So again, he twists it to suit his little narrative, depending on how bitchy he's feeling. Sticks and Stone said, I've said I'm not quick to jump on managers, but more damage can be done based on current trends, having had such a bad run, and so, yes, he needs to go now. So this is one of these situations, mate, where I sit here doubly frustrated, right? I'm frustrated, one, that he's still in the job, but I'm more frustrated to be right again. Because it has to get to the point where it's almost beyond debate for some people to come across to go, you know what, actually, it's enough. For me, again, it was quite clear, and the word back from the fan base was quite clear after the Forest game. That was the one that I really felt there was a tangible change in the fan base, match going and non-match going, around Arna's future. And since then, he's overseen a start to 2026 in the Premier League of 4 draws and 1 defeat, 4 points from 15. For the first time since 80-81, we've drawn with the 3 newly promoted sides at home. We've gone through the numbers there, and we'll run through them again for you now, showing quite how bad Liverpool have been, points-wise. So Carragher used this graphic on Monday Night Football. Defeats following second half equalisers. Liverpool this season have lost 4 games, having got a second half equaliser. Next highest team in the Premier League has 2. Premier League average this season is less than 1. And Liverpool's last 7 seasons average is 1. So we're 4 times worse off in that particular stat than we were over the last 7 years. Everything, and I mean fucking everything, is pointing towards this manager not being good enough. Carragher goes on, does the big spiel about how poor the club are, how poor we're set up, how little fight we have. And then has the cheek to end it with, is it Champions League or bust for Slot? Be honest, Jamie. He shouldn't be given the chance to win the Champions League, because he's already a busted flush. Trent Shelton said, saw something about you possibly signing Anthony Robinson. What would you think about that? Personally, I would have signed him over Kirkes in the first place. I would definitely not have signed him over Kirkes because he's 28 or going to be 28. But I love the idea of him coming in to be the experienced alternative to Kirkes or to challenge with Kirkes. The reason I'm not too sure about the possibility of it is I can't remember his contractual situation at Fulham. I don't know that one, to be honest with you. But would I take him in theoretically? Yes, absolutely. If Andy Robertson was to leave in the summer and you said to me that Liverpool are going to sign Anthony Robinson as the experienced backup to Kirkes, I'd take that. I'd have no issue taking that. But not, to lose Robbo now to bring in Kostas again, who hasn't been getting game time. Like, what if someone's not good enough to get in Roma's team? Please tell me how if we have an injury to Kerkez, I'm supposed to believe we can win the Champions League. There's nothing about that Andy Robertson situation. Nothing that benefits the club. Apart from, the £3 million. Everything from a sporting perspective, it is an idiotic decision. Dahi said, remember me after the United match? Not particularly, Dave. At that time, I was in agony with my shoulder and had been at that United match. So I didn't do any of the post-match stuff that day, mate, so I don't remember. I was at the game. I don't know, man. I don't know. Would I take Trent back? No, I wouldn't. See, that Trent situation, let me tell you why it's a stupid question. For two reasons. One, Real Madrid aren't going to hand him back to us for €10 million like they paid for him. So you're going to have to pay £70 million probably to get Trent back and then give him stupid money again. And that's after he basically told us to go fuck ourselves and swanned off to Madrid. So no, absolutely not. In no way, shape or form would I take Trent back. Because right back isn't the issue here. We have Frimpong, and I think we'll all agree Frimpong's doing rather well. Yes, it's frustrating with Conor Bradley. So we do have an issue there, granted, but it's not a Trent-sized issue. We have Frimpong, so we don't need Trent back. Trent made his bed, let him lie in it. Mark, how are you, dude? Said, hey Craig, you probably answered it, but any news on the Gomez injury? Also, I've noticed Alisson is making easy mistake. Your views? Well, on the Alisson thing, I actually bring it up in the preview for the Carragher game that's coming out at 10:45. I do actually kind of say, usually this is the part where I say, obviously Alisson in goal, because Alisson is Alisson, but you're right. There's been some questionable stuff from Alisson over the last few weeks, and it can be something as simple as a misplaced ball out, just stuff that you wouldn't usually expect him to do. And what was the other part you said? Gomez, nobody seems to know the extent of it. Even when there was James Pearce said it? Sorry, bear with me. I'm just trying to get... Yeah. So James Pearce said Gomez came off injured, but is not expected to be serious, but the length of his absence remains unknown. So yeah, I don't know, Mark. When I was doing my preview, I put Endo at centre back in it because I didn't know what Canade's situation was with his family, obviously. And we don't have any idea what's going on with Gomez. And even if, in the best case scenario, I think if Joe Gomez does have a swollen knee, which apparently he does, that to have gone down in time seems unlikely. So we're in that situation now where we don't know what's happening with Ibu, obviously for personal reasons because of the passing of his father. Absolutely respect that. No problem there whatsoever. But it does show to the lack of forward planning here anyway that I warned about for a long time. You know, and Canade, when he does come back, remember, he still hasn't agreed a contract extension, so we still don't know where his future lies. So we could be in a situation in the summer where you've got Virgil, who's heading for 35, Gomez, who wants out and the club nearly sold, and Giovanni Leone, and that's your lot. That's all you've wrote. So what's going to happen there? You have a big rebuild at centre-back, and then you have a rebuild in attack, and then you have a rebuild in central midfield. And then if the results don't quite go right, well, that's because of the rebuild and because everything's disjointed and there were so many changes. So that's another season written off. How many of them do we have to have before we actually start to hold standards? Because this excuse of too many changes being the reason is bullshit and it lets Slot away with way too much. Like I said, Sunderland made 14 changes. And yet they seem a far better coached outfit. So let's not, again, keep giving them these get out of jail free cards. The man bluffed his way through the end of last season because, you know, they were all partying and we'd won the league and that gave him carte blanche to fail everywhere else. Failed in the Champions League, failed in the FA Cup, failed in the League Cup final. Then we go into this season, win the first 5 games. All of us say that, got away with one there, not playing great, hopefully it'll start to click. Doesn't start to click, starts to fall downwards. Jota excuse gets used by people, which I always said I found disrespectful. Then he steadies the ship. James Pearce jumps on bragging about those with short memories and all that bollocks. Then it starts to wobble again, and all of a sudden they're all starting to write about it. You know, it's not good enough, it can't continue, but yet not one of you are calling for him to be fired. I have a real gripe about journalists that cover our football club, calling themselves journalists. Because, like I've said over and over again, if you can't cover the football club objectively, then don't fucking bother calling yourself a journalist. Because if you can't have objectivity, how are we supposed to take anything you say seriously? And so many of these journalists don't have any objectivity because they can't have objectivity because they know if they're objective and outspoken and critical, well, you know, bye-bye opportunities. So this is why when I talk about journalists, I do differentiate between the Henry Winter, Miguel Delaney, the real journalists of this world, versus the I'm a little good boy, don't give out to me or call the police. Them, you know? Again, we're taking information on how to be correct Liverpool fans from Everton and Arsenal fans that are covering the club. Telling me how to act as a Liverpool fan. Fuck you. Don't ever tell me how to act. I'll act how I want to. I'll support the football club how I see fit, same as everybody else should. I'm just... I get so angry about it, and I'm sure people point and laugh at it, but I get so angry about it because they're allowing it to happen. They're not holding people to account. And if the press won't hold people to account for us, what chance have we got? Because you or I don't have a Sky Sports News platform. We have our podcast, our YouTube channel, we do our best, but ultimately, we don't have the power. These journalists write for publications, have access, can ask tough questions, and don't. And then they want an attaboy. They want a pat on the back, and dare not to be criticised. It really boils my blood. It boils my fucking blood how these people think they can look down on the rest of us when all they do is the club's bidding. As many others have said, they're not journalists, they're PR extensions of the club, and it's embarrassing. Corbin said, "Hi mate, I've made my mind up, I've seen enough. I know I took my time because it's not a nice thing to say, but unfortunately don't think it's the right one." Nobody wins in this, bro. You know, and it hurts me that you even feel like you've got to say now, well, enough is enough. None of us win in this scenario. You know, there's no I told you so's. We all lose. None of us want to say, I want the manager gone. It's not anything that we take pride in. But I do appreciate your sincerity that you've reached your own tipping point. And that's cool, you know. Everybody will have their own point. Like I said, for me, it was the Forest game. Totally Not Wellington said, I'm currently so out of the loop at Liverpool. I feel like every time we score, I just know it's not going to last. We speak and play like a small club. There's a lot to run through. So I'm going to start to run through some of the news for you. And we'll go from there. So bear with me for a sec while we run through some of this news. So Dave O.C. Kopp said, exclusive, Liverpool have held fresh talks over the signing of Adam Wharton. Wharton's keen on the move, and there's confidence in Liverpool, within Liverpool, that Wharton will become a Liverpool player. Not done until it's done, of course. Now, straight away, we have the other side of that, you know, the ones who got the little nod and the wink to say, no, we can't be having that story out there. Paul Gorst of the Echo. Claims of an agreement with Adam Wharton have been dismissed by the club. A report on social media, because they haven't even got the bollocks to say who it is, because they won't call on you now, because that would require having a pair, that suggested Wharton had agreed a 5-year contract with the Reds has been shot down, with it understood that Wharton is not currently an active target. There's a line in that makes me smile. It's that Wharton is not currently an active target. That is the get out with jail free line. That when they're wrong in the future, and they already know they are, but when they're proven wrong in the future, and again, they know they're wrong already, because they know he is a target, they'll go, we didn't say he wasn't coming, We said he wasn't currently an active target. Again, convenient, but again, you know it's wrong. And again, I don't think we're as close as Dave C. Kopp said. But to say he's not an active target when it's a position that absolutely we know we need to strengthen in, and absolutely we know we're probably going to look homegrown for as well, come on. Stop taking us for idiots again. And if you're going to call somebody out by saying something's not right, have the balls to do it. Real leaders step up in crisis. Klopp did, Slot didn't. His primary weakness is showing his own negativity or allowing his own negativity to demoralise the entire squad. Yeah, it's look, he's just talking delusional bollocks after games. So look, as I said, I'm going to keep going with the news. A quote from Endo. He said, "I think it was a really difficult moment for me because Joe got injured and they just scored the second one. We had to go more offensive. I think a few moments I did good. Until we scored two, my performance, the team performance, was okay. I wanted to win the game." Sky Sports News. This club, Liverpool, have very high standards, and indeed, the Liverpool hierarchy may very well be considering their options. Xabi Alonso's name is constantly mentioned in these parts, and sources close to him indicate he would be more than happy with a return to the club. And that's coming from Sky Sports. But, you know, we're supposed to believe everything's tickety-boo, and Liverpool love Arne Slot, and sure, we've no plans to remove him. We're talking to Alonso, mind you, but we're just asking him for some paella recipes and, you know, for his thoughts on things. Next up, Independent put out a post, and again, they call it an exclusive, but I'd say take it with a pinch of salt. Xabi Alonso reps meeting. Request for elite targets, senior player concerned, Slot decision imminent, Gerrard ready to step in short term. In Liverpool, they met with Xabi Alonso's representatives on Friday at a secret location in Spain. They discussed finer details of Alonso's tactics and summer transfer targets, with a request for Van de Ven, Wharton, Bradley, Barcola and Elise. Liverpool's football operations team has decided Arne Slot will not be the manager next season, with certain senior players expressing concerns to senior officials. Steven Gerrard is ready to take the job on a short-term contract if asked, and meetings have already taken place. The Mail said Mark Gay was lying in an MRI machine with his Liverpool medical almost complete when he was told his summer deadline move to Liverpool was abandoned. And yet we didn't move from in January for less money and let him go to Manchester City. 56. That's the points Liverpool had after 23 games last season in the Premier League. 56. This season, 36 after the same amount of games. Fabrizio Romano, on the Andy Robertson scenario, said Andy Robertson to Spurs is still one to watch. The deal is not considered completely off. A domino effect could occur as Roma are interested in a new left-back from Wolves, which would allow Kostas to return to Liverpool. Carragher, speaking about the pressure rising on Arne, said this: "Yeah, it does. When you manage one of the big clubs and you wear Liverpool were in the league, when you think what they've done in the summer, spending-wise, and how easy they are to play against, they just don't seem really set up to compete in this Premier League season. What we saw at the weekend, late on in the game, it's a little bit of a throwback to what we saw at the start of the season. Liverpool seem to find it tough no matter what the Premier League throws at them." Again, Cara saying we're just not fit for the Premier League. James Pearce said Liverpool's defensive resources have been further depleted after Weledy Lucky was ruled out with at least 2 months with a hamstring injury. Joe Gomez came off injured, but is not expected to be serious, but the length of his absence remains unknown. Despite the lack of depth, it remains unlikely that Liverpool will enter the market for a senior defensive help this month. So, journalists out there clearly saying, despite the lack of depth, they still aren't doing it. But is there anything critical to be said, James? Couldn't do that, mate, could we? Couldn't be critical. Next up, we have that long piece from Jamie Carragher speaking about Liverpool being soft. said, I think the three big things that stand out in the Premier League now that you come up against, it's set pieces and long throws, counter-attacking football, and if you're a top team like Liverpool, come up against low blocks. They can't cope with anything. What we're seeing is a team not suited to the Premier League. Liverpool as a club can accept and almost take collective responsibility that we're not going to win the league this year and we're not going to challenge. Not good enough, but we accept it. I don't. You might, I don't. But once you start seeing what Man United have done in the last couple of weeks, once you start seeing Chelsea, when you start seeing where Liverpool could actually finish outside of the Champions League positions, because I really fear for them, like I said, this team is not equipped for the Premier League. Once you start fearing Champions League qualification for next season, that's when I think we've got a completely different proposition than when we're talking about the manager's job. Not making the Champions League from champions after spending 450 million and having the highest wage bill, I think they've got serious questions. Is it Champions League qualification or bust for Salah? Yeah. Again, like I said, he shouldn't be given the time to find out if it's Champions League qualification or bust. Because if we're playing the percentages are against that. And the percentages of somebody coming in to stabilise the club and giving us a bounce are higher. Villa are third and it compared summer transfer to ours. Yep. And they started the season horrendously, couldn't score a goal. But because they have a good coach, he was able to coach improvements. And even at that, they're going into the market to bring in an attacker. Other clubs are looking around in the Premier League and strengthening. Chelsea need a centre-back, they're trying to get one in. City needed a centre-back and an attacker because of an injury at centre-back. Bang, have both. Chelsea's manager not doing good enough, fired. United's manager not doing good enough, fired. Liverpool, defending champions manager not doing good enough, crickets. Again, no decision making. But there's no accountability. Like I keep saying, Hughes and Edwards are not accountable to the fans. They don't have to front up. They can just sit in the shadows, operate and doing their thing, briefing their friendly journalists. And as long as Uncle John isn't unhappy, tickety fucking boo. Are we an ambitious club or are we not? Do we want to win or do we not? How many seasons do you want to ride off? It takes an awful lot to turn a fan base from the most optimistic they've ever been into absolutely numb over a few months. That takes a special group. That takes a special kind of failure to do that quickly. And what you get on top of that, not a manager that's apologetic, not a manager that admits the failings. No, we get fucking excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse. Jorge said, take Xabi now or Luis Enrique in the summer. Luis Enrique in the summer. But I'd still sack Slot now. Whatever situation we talk about, mate, whatever the next manager is, my answer is still fire Slot now. I'm absolutely understanding if a manager isn't available or doesn't want to come in midway through a season. But nothing is going to convince me that staying with Slot over putting a caretaker in is going to be a good thing. Again, we can only work off what we're seeing. And the 5 games we've played in the league in January, we've drawn 4 and lost 1. 4 points from 15. That isn't getting better. And he didn't even have the unbeaten record to hide behind anymore, because that's out the window as well. Like, there's nothing to be gained here. Nothing to be gained from keeping him. If you're a business person looking at your business failing because of leadership, and you have a chance to stop that and maybe save your revenue, and you're not even doing that, like, it's almost like they've got some sadomasochistic desire for fuckery that they want the season to explode and fail. Chris said, do you think they will be bothered that loads of hospitality seats are still available for Wednesday? Well, that's another aspect, mate. In order to keep selling those expensive arse seats, you need success because people are going to want to be entertained. You know, when you're paying £500, £600, £700 for a football ticket, it's gone beyond just expecting to go there for a game of footy. You're expecting a product better than what you're seeing. So yeah, it will be noticeable because these are the type of things that would usually be gone like that. And it feels like FSG will only act when the bottom line or the money is under threat, which is not ownership that screams we want to win. Winning isn't getting into the Champions League. I keep saying this. That's what the higher ups in the suits may want. But winning for the fans is seeing Virgil van Dijk hoisting all big ears above his head. That's winning. Not qualifying for it, winning it. Qualifying for it's just a basis that allows you to strengthen the team. So, nearly 2,000 votes, 20 more to go. We asked, should Slot be given this season? No, fire him. Or yes, give him the season. And again, whichever way we dice this up, folks, across any platform, whoever we speak to, everything comes back to the same thing. Fans want him gone. Fans want him gone. And once that relationship is broken, and it is, there's no retrieving it. He can't save his reputation now. It's done. He's not going to win people back. So what is the point? Well, what is the actual benefit of keeping him around if it isn't a financial one in some way? I don't understand it. These are supposed to be people that want to win. Stargirl said Darwin missed a lot, but he never stopped running. That's true. That's true. Nobody ever questioned, well, very rarely questioned his work rate and his effort. But it's not just him. Diaz was the same. Like, I look, I have to hold my hands up to something because I feel like I need to take my licks on this one. When we talked about the transfer window, I must admit, on reflection, I feel I got a little bit distracted by the new shiny toys. I have to put my hands up on that one. Because as the season has gone on, and as a few injuries have started to pop up, and as our players have started to perform poorly, I've really started to see that, yeah, it was a hollow window. And for all the one out, one ins that were good, and they were, and I still stand over the quality of the players we brought in, but I must hold my hands up to say the squad depth wasn't filled up, and I didn't spot that quick enough. So for that, I apologise to my audience, because people who said that were right, and it's starting to show it over and over again. So for that, I certainly put my hands up, because, you know, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking Kirkes in, brilliant, Ekatike in, Isak in, Frimpong in, you know, great players. But yeah, the squad depth, you can see it's lacking now. And also, I feel like somewhat, apart from my own misgivings, which again I put my hands up on, I feel like we were duped a little bit as well, because we all expected Rio Engamoa to be getting more minutes this season. So when we heard that we didn't want to block the pathway, I think instinctively you feel like, right, well, if we're not going to block the pathway through, it's clear that this kid's ready and legit and we're going to see him, right? That's at least what I thought. I knew he wasn't going to play Chiesa. And again, I'm going to point fingers at the local covering journalists who tried to say that the only reason that Chiesa didn't go on the preseason tour to Hong Kong and Japan was because he had a knock, despite Romano and others saying that he was trying to find a club, and despite others on the preseason tour having knocks. So the lies and the manipulation's always there. It's just picking your battles is what I try to do on here. And yeah, the squad depth is showing itself now to be a real problem. maybe, again, one of the things that I said I credited Arnold with last year was an ability to keep the squad fit for longer. So perhaps subconsciously or consciously, I thought that he'd be able to do that with a shortened squad again this year, because we'd go out and swarm teams, beat them, and then maybe be taking players off with 15, 20 to go, and he'd be able to save their legs and their workload that way. So yeah, look, on that one, in hindsight, I should definitely probably have been less distracted by the shiny things and the new things, and more looking at the squad on paper and thinking, well, what will happen over the course of a 65 game season. Yes, Andres, thank you, mate, for being with us for 3 months as a member, bro. Really appreciate you. Said, what do you predict their centre-back squad depth to be for the future? It's really tough to know, Andres, because, we've signed or are signing a couple more young centre-backs. We have Wellesley Lucky, we have Nallo, but it's really difficult to judge that last step for into the senior team for a player. And it's almost a double-edged sword to some extent as well, because in order to be ready for senior football, you've got to play senior football. So then you're almost into the case of, well, how many can you carry in a first team season with some young changes? It's tough to get the balance right, but I don't think Ireland has even attempted to get the balance right of potential younger players in. But on centre-back depth, it depends how many come through and how many make it. Does this young guy we're bringing in from Oster Vienna, is he going to be good enough? Is the young lad from the Senegalese second tier going to be good enough? Even if one of them makes it through, you're still probably looking at having to sign at least 2 centre-backs in the short term. And that's including Canade leaving. So, and then we've got to look at a long-term Virgil replacement, because we don't have that yet. And like we said about the Salah replacement and many others, I'd like the long-term Virgil replacement to at least have some time to be bedded in before having to come in and put the cape on. Like, see him for a season maybe. L. Stew said, you're not on your own, Craig. We all did it, including ownership. Got hypnotised by the shiny things. Thank you for that, Stu. I genuinely appreciate that you're saying we're all a bit distracted by it, but I think I was just so grateful, in all honesty, mate, because I'd spent so many years on here banging on about where's the money, John, and asking for a manager to be backed. And then when a manager was backed, I almost felt like I needed to be fair about it and credit the owner for spending the money. But I think I corrected too much in the opposite direction, in that I almost then start feeling like it's unfair of me to be in any way critical, because they have done what you wanted them to do. But yeah, I appreciate your honesty on it, mate. Thank you. Mark said, we actually have got a good squad, mostly a few tweaks needed. Central defence, right back, and time for fresh new pacey wingers, maybe a new defence mid. That's still quite a big adjustment that you've said. But you aren't wrong either. Like, again, if we sit through and we go through on paper, you could argue that a lot of the positions are covered well enough. Yeah, there's no denying that. I think we've got too many central midfielders and not enough DMs, which is why I said we could probably lose one midfielder moving forward and bring in a DM. Right back, I've got to be honest, I think it's going to be a very tough call on Conor Bradley, because I don't think many people have any doubts about his quality, and I certainly don't. But the injury situation can't be ignored, with all the best intent and all the best encouragement and love towards the lad. If he keeps getting injured, he's no good to anybody. So then you look at the centre-back situation, and that is, like, genuinely, as each week goes by, I'm nearly adding another centre-back to the list of how many we need. Like, if we believe that Canade's gone, that he'll leave in the summer, then you've got a 35-year-old or heading for 35-year-old Van Dijk, and an 18-year-old kid who'll be 19 at the time. Because they want Gomez to be gone, because they tried to sell him to Milan, but, we didn't get the Marque done and it was all a bit too late. That's it. That's your lot. So you've got to go out there and get basically a whole new centre-back pairing. And one of them has to be a leader for the future. That's why I thought Mark A was such an easy win. Because imagine you got in Mark A, right? And then Schlotterbeck came in the summer. Or a Bastoni or some big name defender that you're all happy with. But you'd already got a Mark A in. And you had a Giovanni Leone. So that was boxed off. And then, you need one more then. Yeah, I don't know. It just feels so confusing. And do you know what the worst part of it is? For me at the minute, personally. I feel guilty that I'm not even looking forward to our games as much. And not because I expect us to win all the time. I'm not that type of spoiled fan. I'm reactionary, yes. But I do understand the football team's not going to win every game they play. But to not even feel excited as much by the team. Like, we're in the Champions League on Wednesday night. I mean, I don't feel particularly enamoured or excited by what we're about to see. I'm more just hoping we get through it. I keep thinking, just stay with it, and eventually they'll see it. And eventually you'll wake up and the day will be done when they've sacked them. And I keep thinking, when is that day? When is that day? When is that day? But my God, folks, it's getting harder and harder. PDH word said, poor squad depth yet the highest wage bill. I can't even respond because I think your statement summed it all up. I've often questioned how we have the highest wage bill, but it is there in black and white. So to say those two things together, like you've said, it seems pretty inconceivable, right? Highest wage bill, but not enough depth. Thoughts on Rosignor at Chelsea? I don't really know too much about him, in all honesty, mate. He seems like a very optimistic, upbeat man. Certainly had Strasbourg doing well. I think they were top of the Conference League, if I remember correctly, in Europe. Don't know where they are in the French League. I don't know. I'm always happy that you see another young English manager given a chance in the Prem, but I don't know too much about him as a coach. The consensus was a Hull he was fired from. That was a bit unfortunate. So yeah, truly, dude, I don't know. I don't know what to expect of Liam Rosignor, but I certainly don't think it's a bad thing that another young English manager is getting a chance in the Premier League. I mean, that's a good thing, but what to expect from Chelsea, I haven't got a clue. AJ, how are we, bro? Said, I don't think it's squad depth. It's a mixture of unfortunate season-ending injuries and the fact Slot refuses to use the squad, unlike Klopp, who used the squad and youngsters who never let us down. So, on the unfortunate season-ending injuries thing, have we really got that many of them? We've got 2. A fringe centre-back who we'd only seen 87 minutes of anyway and didn't know how much first-team football he was going to get. Because remember, we hadn't seen Giovanni in a Premier League game. It was in a League Cup game where we know youngsters are going to get a chance. So, that and Bradley. Other than that, we've not lost a Salah, a Virgil, and Alisson. And we've lost Isak for a few months, but he was always going to be longer to get up to speed. So I don't think he's been that badly hit. Like, if you look at the injury table, we're not at the top of that. But there is still some sense to what you've said about using more of the squad, definitely. You know, I've said this in attack many times. We went into the season with 6, and he's willfully ignored 2. So he's brought himself down to 4 with Chiesa and Rio. And then he fell out with Salah. and Isak's injured. So now he's got a situation where he's got one fit centre forward and one winger for each side. And neither of those two wingers are in good form and have pressure on them. Yeah. It's, ouch. Sorry, this one came up first. The Forest loss was on November 30th. What's the reason he's still here, in your opinion? I've got to be careful, Paul, about how I answer this question, because the real answer to the question involves insulting people. So I'm going to try to avoid that as best as I can. So I'm going to approach it in three ways. I'm going to start off with the fan base. And that's the one I don't want to insult. So an acceptance of mediocrity and a willingness to forgive failures because of one trophy, albeit a big trophy, an important trophy. I think too many people gave him too much rope and didn't hold him to the standards that he should be held to. So I think the fans have to take some blame on it. Secondly, I think that Hughes and Edwards' hubris might be playing a part in this, because remember, he's their guy. They made the decision to hire him, and for them to fire him would make it look like they got it wrong, which they have, but they still won a league title. So that doesn't answer how we've gone from winning the league to this way. And then again, you come back to the window and you have to say, again, Hughes and Edwards, because Arna wasn't signing the players. He sat down and talked with them. He'd have an opinion on them. So I think the blame game needs to be shared around. And the reason that he hasn't been fired yet is because of that willingness to buy into this 13-game unbeaten bollocks that was doing the rounds. And the narratives being put out there by the likes of Pierce, you know, those with short memories, you don't need me to say the rest. That has allowed it to get on. And the only way it's going to stop, because the only way we know FSG respond, is to negative publicity and a bottom line decrease. So if they stop seeing fans being as supportive or leaving earlier, or the boos continue, well, that's brand damage. Can't have brand damage because that damages the money. So at whatever point the owners view that it's getting toxic and the brand's being damaged, that's when they'll act. So we're going to have to kind of ramp that up a little bit, because imagine I went out and did one of my Anfield Agenda live shows at the Hot Water Comedy Club. And I did the show, and at the end of the show, I said, thanks everyone, good night. And they booed. And I went backstage afterwards, and the lad said, how do you think that went? Well, there's a few people that booed, but I think they'll regret it when they go home, because I thought it was fucking awesome, and, you know, they're wrong. That's basically what Slot did. Went out there, was booed off the pitch for another shit result. And somehow in his delusional little brain, he thought that they were wrong and they were going to regret the booing. Well, now me as a Liverpool fan, I know what it would take to get to the point where even a handful are booing a manager. It's going to have gone pretty bad before that happens inside Anfield, especially to a league title winning manager. So that in its own should have been enough for them to go, fuck, this is a problem. Because Arsenal booed the team off the pitch after they're beaten by United, and they're still 4 points clear at the top of the league. And that was the first game they'd lost at home all season. Did you wake up today to read about that booing? Nope. But when we did it, when we did it with Trent, everywhere. Couldn't fucking move for the booing. But apparently, other clubs, that's cool. So the Liverpool way is that we're soft. that we don't hold managers to account for the mid-season. And I have to say, and this is just a theory that I came up with myself, that maybe it's a cultural thing with the owners coming from American sport, where from my at least knowledge of watching the NFL over the few years I have, it's very unusual for head coach changes mid-season. It usually happens at the end of the campaign. So maybe there's that to it as well. That a cultural thing from a sporting perspective. They think, let the season play out. But there's jeopardy in English and European football, where revenue generation has to come from qualification for the Champions League or not. So there's a difference, I think, and I hope, well, I have to believe they know that difference, because not acting now puts that at risk for me, because it isn't getting better. Like, how many weeks do we have to have go by? Like, we're 23 games in now, folks. 23 games. We're not talking about this being September or October anymore. Like, we're running out of games to salvage it at this point, let alone to turn it round. Louise Power said, "Hey Craig, appreciate your passion. We rightfully talk about Slaw. What about Salah? When he's on, we lose. He also needs to go. It's a tough. The Salah situation, you're not wrong on. He has had, by his standards, a pretty poor season. Unlike Slot, he does have a longer body of work that there's no probably, he absolutely has more wiggle room with me as a fan. But it doesn't mean you're wrong, Louise. You are right. I just think he's going to move in the summer, and that situation's going to resolve itself. But I don't want to be coming on slagging off Salah, because, he's allowed a poor season. It's shitty that it happened after he signed the big contract and, comes off the back of a season where he was absolutely incredible. But I also look at it, Louise, and think we were supposed to be building for a life past him anyway, with the Verts, the Isak, the Ekatikes. So others do need to also step up and shoulder some of the responsibility. But what we're seeing is, I'm actually starting to believe and buy into the thing that there may be something between Salah and Verts. Some type of, how do I word this? Power struggle? Is that the right word? It's been theorised by a few people, started in Germany, that he wasn't passing the ball to Verts, and now it just feels like we're left with a lot of good individual pieces, but nobody can make the jigsaw puzzle. So yeah, I don't know what to do. A lot of my solution comes from being able to at least get more from what's already here. So when I talk about firing Slot and bringing in Gerrard, I'm saying so because I think he can walk into the dressing room and get more from what's already there. And that's sort of accepting that you're not going to get at it in the window, because it doesn't look like they're arsed. So please at least be arsed as owners to try and get more out of what's here. Because I think every single one of us as fans would say that we're expecting better than we're seeing this season. Wherever you are with regards to whose fault it is, whether it's Salah's, Slot's, Hughes, Edwards, FSG, Virgil, all of them, we're all in agreement that it's not good enough. And we've all seen that Arne has been unable to wrestle it back around. And whatever he's tried hasn't worked. And certainly his words aren't working. So, yeah. Thoughts on the local journalist shutting down the slot being sacked that he was floating around last night? I think he'll be gone after City. I I don't really have too many thoughts on that on its own, Dylan, because he hasn't been fired. So I don't know, like, it's a very broad-ranging thing to say thoughts on the local journals, not saying this, that, or the other. I'd have to see the posts you're talking about. But ultimately, let's flip it on its head, Dylan, and ask it a different way. Let's ask why they're not calling for the manager to be fired. I think that's a more pertinent question. How is it that rather than going on social media to say that he is fired or he isn't fired or their information, this or that, how about coming out and saying he should be fired? That'd be good, wouldn't it? You know? Because I'm sure the readership would love to go, oh my God, somebody's actually come out and said it. But that won't happen. That won't happen until Daddy John has given him a little pat in the bum to go, it's okay, boys, you can say it now. It's okay. You won't get in trouble. Do you know, it's like, you know when you've got a niece or a nephew and you want to teach them a swear word, but you have to get the okay from the parents first before you can teach the kid the swear word. And then you have to teach the kid that they can only use the swear word in a particular setting and they can't go into school and start calling the principal it or anything. That's what it feels like with the local journalists, that they have to wait for permission to be critical. And at the point where they are going to be critical, the decision will already have been made and passed on to tell them that he's gone. The fact that every headline of all of their articles now isn't screaming, get him gone, or some version of that, tells you everything you need to know about where their loyalties lie. Because whoever you look at, fan-wise, I would dare to say they're not happy right now and they're questioning all aspects of it. But not from the old local B. Always slightly different tune being played there. And like I said, they get angry at me all the time, threaten to call the police on me, do loads of stupid shit because I sit here and call them out. I don't give a fuck. And I mean that sincerely. I don't give a shit what either or any of those think of me. Couldn't care less. Because my opinion of them is so low that I think that they're doing a disservice rather than a service. Elks said, what's up, Craig? Finished first solo day after training the new job. As an American, I never understand why y'all fired coaches so fast. Now I get it. Well, because like I said, there's jeopardy in our seasons. Now I know that in the NFL there's draft positions and stuff like that. But there is huge implications for a club that have a wage bill as high as ours and have invested as much as us to not get in Champions League football. Like, they're big knock-on implications. So, yeah, that's why I think in European football or in football, you've got to act a bit quicker. Elsu said, Craig, mate, a reporter's job is not to suggest the story, but report what is happening now. So, a reporter's job when recovering a football club isn't to talk about whether things are good or bad, whether results are good enough or not. Certainly, we're trying to say now that a reporter's job isn't to question the narrative, Stu. Is that what you're trying to actually say to me with a straight face? That a reporter's job isn't to question a narrative, to investigate, to push for answers, or to challenge the authority. That's what I'm supposed to believe here, is it? That that's not a journalist's job. Or to write another poor performance not good enough. That's not a journalist's job. I'm sorry, bro, but that's fucking ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. With people like that, we'd have autocracy and dictators all over the world if people didn't stand up and challenge and ask questions. So, respectfully, I disagree with you on what a journalist's job is. But then again, I think we're doing journalism a disservice by talking about these people that cover our club locally as actual journalists, because they're nothing but an extension of the club's PR machine and a mouthpiece. That's all that they are. I wouldn't actually be so disparaging towards a real journalist who would have the height of respect for their work. AJ said, I hope Salah's poor form was subconsciously protecting himself for AFCON and he would come back and hit the ground running. Not so, it seems. But he did come straight back into the team, which was interesting, AJ, right? And you wonder, and I don't know the answer to this, bro. I wonder, was that because necessity, fear of another fallout, or a change of system or something? I don't know the answer to it. And I know, Stu, you also have something, like, I think you are a writer, if I'm not mistaken, bro, or something like that. So I know you're trying to respect a profession that you probably hold in high esteem, but I would say that these people are bastardizing actual journalism. Liverpool retain the backing of Arne Slot, said Ben Jacobs. I think Liverpool's plan is to review things at the end of the season, so it would still be surprised if Liverpool made any kind of mid-season change. Results would have to decline considerably. Liverpool haven't had their head turned by the availability of Xabi Alonso. They hired him as one of the leading they had him as one of the leading candidates before Slot was appointed. And it's probably fair to say if Arne Slot goes at any point, then Alonso will be one of the leading candidates. If not the leading candidate, but Liverpool are not thinking of replacing Slot yet. They want to back him. I genuinely don't know what to say to that. Well, actually, I know a lot of to say, but they're idiots. What's the point? Like, what's the actual fucking point? They don't care. They don't care. They don't care. Just, I don't know what else to say. I don't know where to go with that, other than they're going to destroy the club. I don't know what else to say. I really don't know what else to say, other than how saddening it is to read that as a fan, as I don't know what to say, lads. I feel lost reading that. Like, how are you supposed to, as a fan, respond to that? That they're going to continue to back the failing manager, who the players aren't even listening to when he says put the ball out of play. There's another manager there, and Gerrard potentially ready to come in, but our club are continuing to back the man that's destroying the morale of a fan base. I mean, to those who don't know what I'm on about, I'll read it out one more time. It's Ben Jacobs on Arne Slot. Liverpool retain the backing of Arne Slot. I think Liverpool's plan is to review things at the end of the season. It would be a surprise if Liverpool made any kind of mid-season change. Results would have to decline considerably. Before I read out the rest of it, results have declined considerably. He lost 3 games in a row by 3 goals or more. He lost 3 games in a row, went to Dubai, came back and lost to Manchester United at home. We're 6th in the Premier League table. Probably struggle to qualify for the next season's Champions League. And these fucking idiots think that it hasn't gotten bad enough to fire him yet. Edwards and Hughes, if they're making this decision, are absolutely making the wrong decision. And they are going to destroy the morale of a fan base. And they are going to be testing the resolve of a fan base that they are taking for granted over and over. These two fucking dweebs are going to absolutely saturate it because they can't admit they're wrong. They're going to absolutely just rinse a fan base of any morale because they can't admit they were wrong. Okay. Ben goes on to say that Liverpool haven't had their head turned by the availability of Alonso. They had him as one of the leading candidates before Slot was appointed, and it's probably fair to say if Slot goes at any point, then Xabi Alonso will be one of the leading candidates. If not the leading candidate, but Liverpool are not thinking of replacing Slot yet, they want to back him. Xabi Alonso would like to manage in the Premier League. They're an absolute fucking disgrace. They're a... I thought... Genuine question, though. Like, what happens when we don't get the Champions League next season? What happens then? Truly, what happens for the club's financial stability and for the ability for us to attract talent and win things? I feel like giving up at this point. But what do they need to happen? Anfield Sector posted it. Sorry, for those asking, Anfield Sector posted it. I don't know what to say, lads. I honestly, I don't know what to say. They're messing with our emotions. They're taking our support for granted. And despite all the evidence to the contrary, they're backing a failing manager. What's the fucking point? Like, what is the actual point? Keane said, how he still has a job is an absolute joke. It's pathetic. No ambition to get banners on Wednesday and Saturday to force movement to get him out. I don't understand other fan channels are now calling Slot doubters toxic. Even Carragher is using the term now, so we can't be critical. Look, I don't know about other fan channels because I don't watch them. You know, I just go about my own business, mate, and do what I do, so I can't really speak to that. But look, just answer me this simply. How can Jamie Carragher spend 10 minutes dissecting how poor Liverpool are, say they're not set up for the Premier League, say that they're too easy to play against, say that it's Champions League or bust, and still don't think it's time to sack the manager? You know, the same Jamie Carragher who said that's a sackable offence when he thought he wasn't on camera. So once again, this is the machine. And I sound like such a fucking right-wing nutjob saying this. But this really is the PR machine telling you how you're supposed to feel and ignoring the evidence and your actual feelings. And that's the truth of it. I don't know what else to say. Again, let me read you out what Jamie Carragher said. His words. I think of the three big things that stand out in the Premier League now that you come up against. It's set pieces and long throws. It's counter-attacking football. And if you're a top team like Liverpool coming up against low blocks, they can't cope with anything. We're seeing a team not suited to the Premier League. Liverpool, I think, as a club, can accept and almost take collective responsibility that we're not going to win the league this year and we're not going to challenge. Not good enough, he said, but we accept it. No, You accept it. That's the fucking problem. Is that you'll stand there with Gary Neville, do your pieces for 10 minutes, slaughtering how bad we are, and then justify the manager's existence in a job. And don't think that that's contradictory. Goes on to say, but once you start seeing what Man United have done in the last couple of weeks, once you start seeing Chelsea, when you start seeing where Liverpool could actually finish outside the Champions League positions, because I really fear for them, like I said, this team is not equipped for the Premier League. That's the guy who thinks anybody else might be toxic. The guy saying the team aren't equipped for the Premier League, but I'm toxic. Cool. Once you start fearing Champions League qualification for next season, that's when I think you've got a completely different proposition when we're talking about the manager's job. Not making the Champions League from champions after spending 450 million and having the highest wage bill, I think they've got serious questions. Is it Champions League qualification or bust for Salah? Yes. So you're giving him the season to fail. And then if he fails, whoops. Like, you tell me how that is sensible. Again, let's look at the points tallies. 23 games played last year, Liverpool had 56 points. 23 games played this year, Liverpool have 36 points. We're 20 points worse off. We're 6th in the Premier League. And these fucking idiots are trying to tell the rest of us that he should be seeing out the season. It's once again a willingness to write off seasons from multi-millionaires, telling us all it's okay to keep writing off seasons. Like I said, and my response to all of these people will be, me, my viewers, other Liverpool fans, they all have to get up out of bed, go to work, provide for their families and kids, live through a cost of living crisis, struggle to pay the bills, and have the escapism of football taken away from them, but it's okay because the multimillionaires are telling us all that there's no need to fear. But as soon as it cuts their bottom line and it starts to hit their pockets, all hell will break loose and standards will all of a sudden be important. Well, you'll have to excuse me if I take the side of the normal people who actually need football, who actually live for the results of football, who actually are vicariously linked to our football club. What a fucking club. What a fucking state. No, actually, do you know what, lads? I genuinely feel like crying. Look, this is what we're going to have to do as fans. We're going to have to be vocal. We're going to have to. We're going to have to be on social media. We're going to have to be sharing clips. We're going to have to be pushing our own narrative that it isn't going to be acceptable to us. That our voices have to count and be listened to. Like, this isn't reactionary over the top bollocks. This is a team in 6th place. And to accept this level is to accept mediocrity. From a club that keeps telling us about standards, history and tradition, but won't act like one of the world's biggest clubs. Won't act to save their season. And because the two dweebs that aren't answerable to anyone get to just hide away and don't have to front up to it, they can sit there and throw out any little crumbs and any old bollocks they want and talk about not sacking the manager and not giving a fuck about how the fan base feel about it or how annoyed they're going to be about it. Doesn't matter. Another pathetic title defence, and it doesn't matter. But if Champions League qualification isn't achieved and that money isn't there, that's the standard. They've told you now what the standard is. The standard is the Arsene Wenger trophy. That's it. 4th place, Champions League money, John's happy. Doesn't matter if everything else collapses. No other trophies, nothing else. As long as John gets his balls tickled by the Champions League money, Everything else is fine. That's the standard. That's where we're at. That's it. That's the standard now. We don't exist to win trophies. We don't exist to win. We don't demand better. We accept mediocrity and failure. And we accept that there's two dweebs running the club who sit there with their laptops, wanking over ones and zeros, but haven't got the balls to front up and face a camera and talk about the club. That's it. That's what we have. If Slot stays, we won't win anything. It's a disgrace. Yeah. And by the time we don't win anything and they're gone and he's fired, we won't have the Champions League next season to look forward to either. And then that'll be used as the excuse to not start backing managers and why the wage bill has to be cut and why players have to be moved on. It's this is why Jurgen left. So, yeah. So speak up. Get on social media. Have your say. Make your banners. Post. Be active. Because at this point, that's all we have left. They're going to have more boos. They're going to have to see more of a reaction inside the stadiums. People are going to have to be leaving games earlier. All the things that Jurgen fought to get the fans on side for, they're willing to just let fuck off. Because they don't care about the season because they won't act in the market. They don't care about the season because they won't sack the manager. So going to have to be vocal inside Anfield and social media and everywhere you are. Have your say. Post. Post again and again. Tag the club. Post again. It has to be clear. I feel like I've just found out the missus is cheating on you or something. Like, that's how deflated I feel right now. Like, what's the point? What's the point in us putting our support, our emotions, our finances behind a club that doesn't give a fuck? What's the point? Itachi said Anfield has to stand up. Louise Power said, I agree with you, Craig. Madness to spend so much on the front row and neglect the back. Super genius concept. We'll hold the ball at the front, yet we'll slip. They break, they score. Soul destroying. I don't know what to say, folks. I don't think I've ever felt this lost since the whole Super League Hicks and Gillette thing. Like, what is the actual point? They've checked out and they're taking the support for granted. It's a heartbreaking situation. I don't know. Lads, this is not the way I wanted to end tonight's stream. All I can say to you is I'm hurting. I'm sure you're hurting. Fuck me. I don't know. I don't have anything else to say. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go regather the thoughts and come back again tomorrow. Honestly, I'm heartbroken. Worst thing is we're the ones that put money in their pockets. Every ticket, every jersey, every tour. Yep. Time to show no Anfield games, I think, said Skater Hardy. It's not a fake post. It's from Anfield Sector, and it's a quote from him speaking on something. If people are asking about the Anfield Sector post, it's a legitimate post, and it says Liverpool retain the backing of Slot. I think Liverpool's plan is to review things at the end of the season. It'd still be a surprise if Liverpool made any kind of mid-season change. Results would have to decline considerably. Liverpool haven't had their head turned by the availability of Alonso. They had him as one of the leading candidates before Slot was appointed, and it's probably fair to say if Arne Slot goes at any point, then Alonso will be one of the leading candidates, if not the leading candidate. But Liverpool are not thinking of replacing Slot yet. They want to back him. And then finishes with, Xabi Alonso would like to manage in the Premier League. So are we going to have to sit and watch him go to Man City as well then? Before the brain trust figures out it's too late? Yeah, I'm going to have to go and have a little think, folks. And reach out to my fellow content creators that I know and see if we can't get on the same page and be vocal on this one, because it's, yeah, I just feel deflated at the minute. Anyway, good night to each and every one of you. Appreciate you guys joining me again. A little bit lost for words, to be honest with you, folks. Thank you for your support. Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. Connor will be here in the morning. The preview is out now for the Carragher game if you've any interest in it. And yeah, thank you to our sponsors as well. We'll talk to you soon.